Today we're going to take a look at how to use the SQL Loader inside the Concurrent Manager to load data from, say, text files or whatever. We're going to look at both the running a host script, and also using the SQL Loader option. So the first one we'll look at is the host script, and then we'll take a look at how it's done with the SQL Loader option. They're both pretty much the same. Key difference is with the SQL Loader option, you can't pass a parameter for the control file, and when you're using a host script, of course, you can pretty much do just about anything. Now, these videos are not intended to, in any way, shape, or form, show how this is supposed to be done in a production, not nearly a production, but much less. But it's basically to give a foundation, to memorialize the simplicity of these are the steps taken to get this constructed, and then obviously build out a proper script file, a proper control file, obviously proper database tables. I mean, this table that I'm using has 2 fields, and it's there specifically to show the constructs of getting either of these 2 options to work. Okay, so we're going to go and have a quick look on how to set up SQL Loader in the Concurrent Manager. We're going to look at Programs, Executable, and you'll notice I already defined it here, but basically I've got this thing called xxhost, and this is going to run a host file, and the execution file name is test. Okay, let's go look at the program. Again, here's the executable. In here, the executable section, I called the program xxhost as well. Okay, so basically that's the program we were just looking at. And I didn't set up any parameters. Obviously, this thing would have parameters, but I just wanted to get it to run and show the basics, foundation, in terms of getting it to happen. So here we actually have the bash file, the bash script called test, that the host is going to run. And it's going to run, okay, there's the environment variables called, so that SQL Loader has context and runs. And you'll see in a second, you've got apps password with prod as the instance, the data, the control file. Now, the key to the host file is that if you want to change where the control file is or which control file you use, you got to use a host file. You got to run a host program. You can't do it the way I'm going to show at the end. I'm going to show both ways. So that's very simplistic, straightforward. It doesn't look like anything like production, but it's the idea to say you can get this, run the host file, and there it is. There's the test file. That's the executable. The file was made executable. Let's go over quickly to have a peek at the data file. And just simple Simon, first name, last name, loaded into a table, and that's all it's going to do. Okay, and now let's go ahead and run that. There she is. Submit. Again, no parameters. This would all have parameters. You would parameterize this thing as you need it. It would be really cool because you could pass on the control file you want to run. So let's look at the log, and you'll notice that logical record count of 6, commit point reached, 6 records got in. That's how many we had. And that is how it goes. Okay, so let's go to System Administrator and Concurrent, and then let's go to Program, Executable, and let's look at the executable I defined to use SQL Loader. Okay, so you notice I gave it a name, short name, and I used application object library. Standard procedure probably would be to use a custom app, but that works. Execution method, SQL Loader. Just put a description in there, and the execution file name, load data. Now let's go look at the program. I sort of named this stuff the same thing. Program. There's the executable SQL Loader that we just looked at, and you got to go ahead and give it this one parameter here. That's all it'll take, and tell it where the file location's at. The control file is under FND bin, and so, or you can have it under the custom top, but it's basically top based. If you need more, if you need to direct the control file, then you need to use a host, as was shown earlier, host file. So again, sort of the same thing. This is your control file to load. Standard stuff. This is really simple Simon stuff here. F name, last name, 2 fields to give it a go. So that's that bit of data file. And so let's just save that. Now let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so there it is. That's the location. You can change this, but it's already defaulted. And again, this is all simple Simon stuff. Nothing meant here to be anything like production, but just to show how the process works. And you notice here, 6 logical records read, 6 rows successfully loaded. And so it just works. Much more complex programs and also control files and so forth, but I just wanted to memorialize this on a video of how to do just the basics of setting up the SQL Loader concurrent program.